BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello and welcome to episode 508 of BRB UK. I am Coleman. Hi. And with me this week is Tim.
Hello.
Hello, Tim.
Did you want more
Dan
than
this
that?
week called off. No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Didn't even talk during the intro. Dan will be pleased when he listens back. He won't listen back. Dan's off this week. He's got stuck with work yet again. Unfortunately, those are the crosses we have to bear as fully fledged adults. Responsibilities. Yes. Yeah. But no time to dwell on that. We've got a lot to talk about this week because no one told us, but apparently E3's back on because we just had a week's worth of different press announcements and different game streams and all kinds of things going on that we've got to talk about, and all kind of combined from D23 all the way to TGS and a nice big mess of video games to talk about. But first, we have video games that we've been playing that we want to talk about.
I was going to say, I swear Nintendo and Sony were like, hang on, Microsoft are going to have a conference at TGS, they're going to have a presentation there. We better get ahead of them, and just decided to do that at the last minute by the looks of things.
Right, yes, but first we have video games to talk about that we have been playing, and Tim, I'll let you start off because you've got the review game this week.
Yes, I do. And it's a game I'm quite excited to talk about, actually, because I haven't seen anyone else mention it, discuss it. Like, there's been a lot of games talk this week on Twitter and a few things, and, you know, a few people espousing about some games and stuff. I haven't seen another human soul in the world talking about this game yet. So I hope the rest of the world likes this game as much as I do. But it's a game called Foretales. I've been playing it on the Switch. Other platforms are available, but I think it's a particularly good fit for the Switch. I think it's on Steam, so if you get it for the Steam Deck, it'd be good on that as well. Although, yeah, that being said, there's a reason to possibly play it on other platforms. It is a good second screen game. It is a kind of fantasy world of anthropomorphic animals.
Easy for you to say?
Easy for me to say. And yeah, artwork-wise, very much reminded me, one of the things that drew me to the game in the first place was that artwork kind of reminds me of Robin Hood, as in the original Disney animated Robin Hood, because it's got the anthropomorphic animals in a kind of fantasy world. So that's more of a just medieval setting, whereas this is more of a fantasy setting. But one of the main characters is at pains to tell you he is not a crow, he is a shoebill, basically. But he very much looks like, if you remember Robin Hood dressing up and to get in the tournament to win the heart of Maid Marian and all that type of stuff. Like, he dresses up as a crow, I believe, maybe something else. But yeah, the main character very much reminds me of him doing that, basically. So it kind of drew me to that slightly because that has some good connotations in that regard. And there isn't really much of a connection other than there's anthropomorphic animals in a fantasy medieval setting type of thing. But it is a card-based game. So, you know, that attracted me as well, basically. I do like my card-based games. But this is one of those ones where there are reasons and means, and it kind of works that it's a card-based game. But it also, I don't see how this would work as a card-based version of it in real life. Like, it very much does need to be a video game to make this whole thing come together. And you play through the game. There's some bits of the story I don't want to give away, but it kind of, there are a variety of different paths you can take through the different events in the game. And early on, you get access to a lyre type thing, as in Lyre, not Liar. That kind of, when you come into contact with it, it starts giving you visions of what's going to happen in the future. And so you get an idea of one or two of impending disasters or things that are happening to like members of your family or things that are happening to the region around you. And they're usually like portents of doom, basically. And so you have to kind of pick and weave your path through these different events, trying to find the best path to avert some of these disasters from happening. And it soon becomes very clear that even with the best intentions and even with going the best ways, you won't necessarily be able to stop all of these bad things from happening. So you need to make hard choices about, do you try and save the life of your dad, for instance? or do you try and save a village from burning down type thing? And so it's a choice between those type of things. And there are other things going on around those things as well, but they're kind of the center points of the issues that you're trying to solve. And yeah, the way you do this and the way that you get through the environment, there is a kind of, I'd say grid, but it's not really grid because while there's, let me get this the right way around, where there's columns of cards, the rows are kind of offset from each other, and there's no like straight path from one card to another. It's very much like this card over here will be an event, and that will have an effect on cards that are further down the line and not necessarily in the immediate vicinity of the card you're interacting with. So it's really hard to know which is the correct, in inverted commas, path to take, and there probably isn't a correct path to take. Like you'll make a decision that will have bad consequences, basically. But how you end up interacting with things is you have once you click on one of the environments and go into the environments, it opens out into a selection of cards, and that can be 3, 4, or 5 cards normally. It might vary from that, but that's the normal kind of things. And they will generally be locations. Now, some of these locations will be guarded by enemies, so usually bandits or a selection of creatures that have been infected by a mystery infection, which is causing problems in the whole world at the moment, basically. And that sounds like you're going to get into combat. And some ways, there are no ways around things. You have to get into combat. But before you do engage in combat, there's a phase of moving around those different locations. And if some of the locations aren't guarded by things, you can interact them with other ways. So you've got a selection of skill cards and then a selection of what basically amounts to items and money and other kind of things like that as well. And so the skill cards are related to the up to 3 characters that you have. And at any one time, you might have 4 or 5 different characters that you can choose from. But you start with 2 characters, work your way up to 3. But it's generally a team of 3 characters that you pick from. And the base character that you are that generally goes along for each mission is the shoebill that I was mentioning before. You're a bird type character. And you're a little bit crafty, so you can pickpocket people and persuade them to kind of do things that you want, but not necessarily by great means, like extortion and stuff like that. And so you've got various different ways of interacting with things. And then one of the first creatures you get to go alongside that, for example, is a tiger who's also like quite a good warrior. Is an archer that can hit people from before you get into combat, and has various sensory skills like being able to smell a nearby location that could be of interest. He's also good at gathering food, which is one of the other resources that you have. And then there's a couple of other people that you interact with. Some of them are a bit more better at diplomacy and kind of getting money from people and collecting debts and stuff like that. Some of the other characters are a bit better at just straight out fighting with people and have a thing called unquestionable friends, where they kind of always know the dodgiest people in town, so you can get some information or some help from them and stuff, basically. And yeah, so there's various different ways to approach things. But initially, when you're moving around those locations, you can use some of your skill cards or some of your resource cards from go to one location to another. And there's an exploration deck that you pull from, and some of your interactions with those locations will add extra cards to the location deck, but also you can have things that will add extra enemies to the search party, as they call it, which is where extra enemies come out from that might then go on other locations as they come out. And yeah, like you can just move around those environments and avoid some of the fights, and you can have like using your skill cards to find food or do other things and interact with those locations. Like there might be a noisy tavern where there's a tavern there, so you could pay some money to get some food. You might be able to use one of your skill cards to get some food, but then you could also use it to find out a nasty rumor or local chit chat that might then help you in combat. Or you might be able to just hire a mercenary or get into a bar fight as a distraction for someone else in the bar. And like, so there's lots of different things that can go on. And a lot of them are sort of based on the skills that you have available to you. And some of them are just based on the thing that you're trying to do. There was one level fairly late on that I played fairly recently, which was a murder investigation that was all done through the cards and going to different locations and then having to find... Basically, you were acting on behalf of someone that had been falsely accused of murder, or said they were, at least. But you had to find what really happened and then try and find some witnesses to back up his story. And you had to bring enough witnesses to court to back up the story. And I won't spoil exactly how that plays out, but that was just really interestingly done. The way the cards worked and the way that you had to pair up witnesses with people and stuff. It was really good. I really liked how that worked. That was really well done. And there's other scenarios that are more akin to what you're kind of used to from this type of thing, where you're exploring a location, having to find a certain location in the exploration deck to then progress out of that area to get to another area. As I said, you can act with some of those locations. If you get to a point where all the locations are covered by infected or guards or bandits or whatever, then you will probably have to get into a fight, or you can just choose to go down the route of the fight. I've kind of got to the point, and they keep on warning me, the more people that die, there will be consequences later. And I'm like, okay, fine. But also...
To hell with your consequences.
We need to get through this stuff. I killed so many people that when I rescued my dad disowned me and didn't want anything to do with me because he didn't raise a murderer. And I was like, okay. So I went to all this trouble of saving you, but I killed too many people to do it. So yeah, there are consequences to your actions, but they keep on warning me there's a bit more consequences. But I have found it's the kind of the easier way to do things is to get into combat sometimes, especially when you've got characters or skill cards that particularly lean into that. You can also pick up some resources that help you deal with that as well, like this throwing knives that you can throw out in combat and stuff like that. Once you actually click on and decide to engage the enemy, there is also a round of what they call negotiation before you actually get into combat. And it's there that you can use some of the diplomacy skills or some of your other skills or some of your resources. You can straight up bribe people, for instance. So you can lessen the number of people there. But you can just go, all right, here's some gold. You can also buy off hungry guards by giving them food. Or you can just scare them off with your fame or your grim. And your grim is kind of a negative fame almost. It's like the bad actions that you've done that so you can kind of scare people off with your reputation, basically.
Intimidation.
Yeah. But there's also a morale marker as well on the enemy side. There are some creatures like the infected that don't have morale and you can't pay off and stuff like that because they're just infected creatures and they don't have a form of finance, presumably, so they don't care about money. But then you also they don't have a morale to low, but most of the enemies have a morale that you can, instead of directly attacking them, if you lower that morale to the point where it gets to 0, I think it also activates on 0.5 because it works in halves. But if you get it down low enough, the enemy will flee and run away, basically. So you don't have to fight everyone.
Right.
And you could just bribe. There's certain fights where you just learn, I'm just going to bribe that captain because as soon as he goes, his troops will just run away and I won't have to fight anyone, basically. So there are ways and means around combat. And that you soon learn is actually the most resource efficient way of getting around things, because if you take damage, then you need to get healing through healing resource items that you can gain, but they tend to be rare. Otherwise, you've got to use your food. And your food is a very useful resource for buying people off or doing other things. So you kind of want to save that in reserve as an emergency only thing for health, but you will have to use it for health if you start wading into combat every time. And I really like the way that works. There's a lot going on in a lot of the locations, and the interface is quite busy, but it's also very good at giving you feedback. It's well designed in that way. If you click on a card or if you highlight a card, then it tells you highlights all the other cards that card can interact with. So you've got an idea. There is still a bit of trial and error in okay, what does this card do? Okay, what does that skill card do at this moment? Okay, what does that skill card? So there's a bit of back and forth with that. But generally, it's really good at giving you some visual feedback to help make that process a little bit easier, which it kind of really needs. But it is nevertheless welcome. There's also, for something that presumably plays a little bit better with keyboard and mouse. And we've said about a few games that haven't been redesigned to adapt well to that screen. This is an example of adapting well to a game that presumably was designed to play with mouse initially, but adapting it well to play on Switch, because they've got shortcuts to get you around the different parts of the screen. So if you want to get to your skill cards, you just tap the left bumper, and that takes you all the way to the skill cards. You want the resource cards, you tap the right bumper, it takes you all the way there. Occasionally, that doesn't work quite as well as it should, but generally speaking, it's very welcome little shortcuts and just a well-designed interface that makes the game much more approachable, because there is a lot going on in any one location, and there's a lot of variables and a lot of options to you. But I quite like that. That works like well from a gameplay perspective, and it makes you think that you're, kind of more key to the strategy. You're not just along for the ride, basically. And between that and actually making like hard decisions about like which location you're going to and what thing you're doing, which isn't always a clear path, but then that's life kind of thing. I don't mind that so much. But yeah, between those things, it gives you good like player agency. You feel that your decisions have some weight to them. There's probably a few MacGuffin ways round of like funneling you through the same thing, and I'll have to play it a couple of times to see how that plays out. I must say that they did say in the review guide to actually play it through a couple of different times to play it differently. I haven't had the chance to do that because I haven't actually completed it yet. And I'm glad I stuck it out to the point I did, because I've seen a few different mission variety things which have heightened my overall enjoyment of the game. So I did kind of think about yesterday just restarting and going through again to see how things worked out differently. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't, basically. Yeah, like, I don't know how much it sells for. Is that's one thing you can check for me while...
It's £17.99.
You knew that I was going to say that. Yeah, and I think for that sort of price, yeah, it's a definite recommend, basically, because quite a lot to the game. I would say there's 8 to 10 hours at least in your first playthrough, and you'll probably want to replay it more than once as well. And yeah, there are consequences to your actions, and as I said, I don't want to spoil too many of the surprises and things, but as I said, it gives a lot of weight to everything. I've really enjoyed like the way it plays. There's nothing that I can go, well, it's akin to this. The closest I would say was the Witcher Thronebreaker game, but even then, it's got a few of its own things and a few differences that makes it play differently even to that. And yeah, and it's quite funny in places as well, which is something I haven't had a spot to mention. But I quite like the humor and the way the kind of the characters interact with each other and play off each other and stuff. And yeah, like it's a really like well-made, polished card game, basically. And that's probably going to appeal to me. So take it with a small pinch of salt, because it's definitely something that is in my wheelhouse of games that I tend to like. But I think this is a really good game. As I said, I haven't heard anyone else talking about it. I'd be keen to see how other people take to it as well, basically.
Okay. Well, that's Foretales for Switch and PC. $17.99 on PC. I assume about the same. For Switch, I assume about the same for PC. Sounds like Tim likes it. I probably wouldn't.
No, not for Coleman.
Not a game for Coleman. No, but a game for Coleman. Surprisingly, Cyberpunk. I have been playing Cyberpunk 2077. I said that I jumped into it just to kind of check the updates and see how that game's performing these days. Really, really well. I absolutely love Cyberpunk 2077. I don't want to go into too much for this game's been out for like 2 years now, but yeah, it's really good. And especially good that if you've got a PS5 or a Xbox Series X, and you can pick up a last gen version of this game for like 20 quid and get the new gen version the current gen version of the game, and all is good with the world.
Nice.
And as well, because I forgot, I completely missed this announcement last week with the update, but they've added in a cross save support. So I can play this. Yeah, I can play this on the PlayStation 5, and then I could go upstairs and play it on PC if I wanted to. So that's really cool. I like that.
Just as a little amendment, I can't say that word.
Addendum. Amendment.
That's the one I was. Anyway, right. Addendum to that is, I watched the first couple of episodes of the Netflix Edgerunners series last night. The Cyberpunk 2077.
So did I, halfway through it.
Yeah, I really liked that so far. No, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
I was a bit iffy with the first episode. I didn't think like a lot of the characters were annoying me, and I didn't take to the voice acting. But I think that's just the same with any kind of dubbed anime. I don't think it's particularly a dubbed anime. I think it is created in English and dubbed in other languages. But I wasn't enjoying it in the first episode, but by the second one, everything kind of melded in, and I was absolutely fine with it. Franz Ferdinand, weird choice for that's not what I'd go for a theme tune about Cyberpunk.
No, it wouldn't be my first choice. But yeah, I thought it was really good so far. Animation was good, story was interesting. Yeah, I'm in. Very
violent, very bloody, nudity, all that kind of stuff. It's an 18 rated anime, so I don't think it's one to watch with the kids.
No.
Yeah. Cyberpunk 2077. If you've not played it, or if you played it and still have it and never got back into it, it's worth getting into now. It's a very good. I can't believe how good this game is. And unfortunately, CD Projekt really kind of dropped the ball when that game came out by bringing it out as early as they did and trying to support the last gen, and that muddied a lot of that studio's reputation that they've spent years and years building up. So. Shame, but yeah, really good. Jump back in if you want to. The other game that I've been playing, which Cyberpunk has taken me away from a little bit, but Splatoon 3 is out. I was expressing my interest in this game through the last Splatoon Direct that they did.
Yep.
Mainly because I really, really enjoyed Splatoon on the Wii U. And then when the second game came out, it was always kind of I'll get to it, and I never did. And then they announced Splatoon 3, and I just thought, I'll just go straight in for 3. And that's what I've done.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be one, because we've kind of gone over in the games we've done played already, but I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about this game this week and next week, because I haven't played any multiplayer. I've been solidly playing the single player version of the game. Just because I've been enjoying the single player version of the game, and you don't need to be online to play it. So it's a good one to play on the tube and in the office and stuff. So yeah, Splatoon 3, as much as I've seen the game, you start off, it drops you into a hub world, it does intros to characters and things around you and stuff. And then you can go into either the multiplayer or the single player or the salmon run version of the game. And in the single player version of the game, it takes you into a world where kind of fighting the same enemies as in 2, as I understand from what the story tells you, but not the same boss. There's a new big bad that's arrived.
Okay.
And you are going through a series of worlds, which I think there's 6 worlds to get through. And each world, you are going through different levels, which are kind of...
levels?
Different closed areas. Yeah, they're levels. They're different closed areas where you're tested to do different things with whatever weapon you are given. And sometimes you might have to do them multiple. Well, you can do them. You don't have to. You can do them multiple times to do different weapons and approach it in a different way, such as you got like your regular ink pistol type things. You've got your rollers and stuff that existed in previous games, but then you've got a parasol type device that kind of sort of works like a shotgun, but also works as a block, but also the parasol will fire off the gun and go ahead of you and leave a trail of ink in its wake. And there's lots of very creative and innovative different weapons to play around with in that game. So as you do each level, you earn a type of currency. They look like fish eggs. I don't know what they're actually called. But the more of those you build up, the more of those you build up, they're what you use to purchase the different entries into different levels at the start of the level. So some of them are free to use. Some of them you might have to pay entry to get in, or pay entry to use your different types of weapons. So that's what that's for. But also the world around you is covered in like a weird furry sludge. And you need to use the currency to power up your little friend, who's seen as like a little, looks like a devilfish with a mohawk that you can use as a kind of grenade. And you have to power him up and throw him at points of the sludge that will then eradicate it and take it away from the level so you can access more of it. So that's pretty much the game. Once you've done enough to get through a level, then you're going to have an end boss and then move on to the next world. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the single player aspect of the game, which is surprising because I absolutely love the first Splatoon game, and that's entirely multiplayer, and I haven't even jumped into it. And the first Splatfest is about to come up as well, so I really should get into some multiplayer.
Have they announced what the 2 things are?
3 things. They've changed it now because there's no longer two sisters talking. There's 2 sisters and a giant ray called Big Man.
Right.
So you get triple teams now. And I think I wrote it down. Hold on. The next Splatfest.
I guess it makes sense. There's Splatoon 3, so let's go for 3s. And they've probably exhausted a lot of the 2s.
Yeah, and also you have to, you got to innovate on each game. So that seems the better way of doing it. Larger Splatfests and things. It's Gear, Grub, or Fun. That will be the first Splatfest. Yeah. I'm wondering if we're going to get different Splatfests like they did with the previous, I can't remember, it might have been the first game, where we had different ones in the UK and Europe compared to what the US got. And they would be like, hey, you can fight for fish or chips. Whereas in the US, they went, you can fight for Decepticons or Autobots because we've got a different license. And if you, depending on what team you had a T-shirt with the icon of a Transformer on there. So I'm wondering if we're going to get shafted a little bit through licensing or if they're just going to stick around worldwide what we're getting. But yeah, it's a really good game. Don't think I'm only talking about half of it because I just haven't played enough of the game. It is just because I've way got into the single player of the game and I want to get through it before doing the multiplayer. So I am enjoying it. Splatoon 3, really, really good. If you enjoyed Splatoon 1 or 2, it's definitely worth picking up, I reckon.
As much as you say that you're enjoying it, I'm still slightly on the fence. Not painting the fence, on the fence.
No, you want to get off the fence and start spraying your ink around the world because up on the fence, you're not going to do anyone any good. You're going to get fired at with a big parasol inking thing. So, a big ink Gatling gun. Knock you right off that thing. I don't know where I'm going with this. Hey, let's talk about all the games that we're meant to be talking about in this week's edition of the news. Not the news as in a paper or a website. I don't know, I'm going into a weird tangent. We are going to talk about all the many things that have been announced this week. Not all of them.
Things.
Me and Tim, we've written out a big list with all the details we need and we put them in an agenda and we simply won't have the time to talk about it. I think we have like 15 minutes that we have to talk about this. So we've taken a selection of all the different things that we're talking about. And we're going to start off with the D23 Expo Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. So Disney Speedstorm, which is a kind of Mario Kart clone. No other way to put it. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
This is very, very, very shortly about to come out. But the main part of the announcement at D23 was they're going to do a Monsters Inc. update. So you'll be able to play as Sully and Mike.
Yeah.
Those are the character names.
Dude,
And you'll have a track that's based around the Scream Factory. I think that's what it is.
Let's go with that. Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of kids' cartoons. It's got to remember. It's been a while since I've seen Monsters Inc.
Yeah. I just thought that this was as you say, it's very clearly a Mario Kart clone or a karting game to be a bit kinder. But we don't have enough of those around. Like the other ones that we've had previously, like Mod Nation Racing and stuff, haven't survived. There doesn't seem to be much of a desire for Sony to resurrect that. There doesn't seem to be many of the other games around. And it'd be really nice to have like a high quality visual version of a Mario Kart game on a console that isn't a Nintendo console. This must have passed me by as well because I was like, oh yeah, this exists when it came up on stream. I was like, completely forgot this was a thing. But I actually thought it looked quite good. The trailer did a good job of showing it off at least. And yeah, I'm interested at least.
Well, as long as you're excited, Tim.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
I've kind of given up on getting excited about kart races because every time I play one, I go, it just doesn't feel like Mario Kart. And that's all I really want. So now I've come to terms with it. I'm just going to play Mario Kart.
I mean, you and most of the rest of the world by the looks of things. So, yeah. Yeah.
Another one you've highlighted is Marvel Snap, which is an interesting one because so this is a free-to-play collectible card game set in the Marvel universe. This has been, I think Ian sent us a thing on Twitter to kind of point it out. It's going to launch on the 18th of October. It's interesting because I don't know if you heard any rumblings about this before, but this went out into a beta state a little while ago, and a lot of people were complaining about the microtransactions in the game, the bad pricing. So I'm hoping that's something that's been improved. But the other interesting bit about this is actually from the Chinese company that owns TikTok, who last week shut down loads of their game studios. Because they're pulling back from video games. So I'm assuming this is kept about purely for the Marvel license. Yeah. So hopefully this is a success for them, because if not, they seem to be quite happy to put studios on the chopping block.
Yeah, and when Ian tweeted it, I hadn't seen I was a bit behind watching this, so I didn't actually see it live. And so when he said Marvel Snap, I was like, oh no, that sounds... And it was a Snap. Yeah, and it's a mobile game, and I'm like, oh. But actually seeing in the presentation, the stuff that they showed, I'm like, ooh, that actually looks like quite a cool card game. But as you say, might be prone to some microtransaction hell, so we'll have to see. But one that I might keep an eye on and might play and report back on at some point, basically.
One that I am gaining more interest in, even though I'm not a huge fan of the films, Avatar, the Frontiers of Pandora, or just Frontiers of Pandora. I'm just adding because in my head that makes sense.
The Frontiers
very
of
quick
Pandora.
Gameplay overview. Yeah, this is a very quick gameplay overview they gave us. It's looking good. It's from the guys that made the first two Division games. That's probably why I'm more excited about it than the IP itself. So I'm gonna keep my eye out, see what comes about this game. But I'm hoping it is a good one. There was another Avatar game as well called Avatar Reckoning, which is a mobile MMORPG shooter, which interests me less because I played a experimental mobile game I'm not allowed to talk about, and just by simply having it installed, drained my battery a ridiculous amount super quick, and it took me a while to figure out what was doing it. So I'm less excited about the mobile games once again.
Avatar, I'm not massively I actually think I like the films more than most people, or the film so far, and upcoming films.
The film.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something that I'm just not that interested in playing the game. I think I've already been burned on Ubisoft Avatar games in the past, possibly, because I quite liked the look of the previous one in preview, and then I don't even think I picked it up in the end, because it just didn't review well, wasn't interested in it. But yeah, I don't know. I'll try and
I watched a retrospective on that recently, and it looked all right. Okay.
Well, they could do just making a giant Smurf basketball game maybe, or something but that sounds more interesting. But I'll see.
Yeah, why not? Stick it on the Switch.
I'll remain cautiously optimistic. So I'll kind of reserve judgment.
One that I am interested in is I'm interested in because of the tech, I guess, but we'll see how this goes. Marvel World of Heroes. It's clearly aimed at a younger audience, but it's an AR game that lets you create your own superhero and then team up with your favorite Marvel characters in the real world. There is a pre-registration going on, marvelworldofheroes.com. I did pre-register. I'm going to see what happens.
Have you pre-registered?
I can have a go.
You're just going to make Batman and then just hang out with all the Marvel characters, yeah? Yeah,
basically.
Bat Coleman.
I'm always interested in different types of technologies in video games, and AR's one that it's the mobile AR scene, which I didn't get on board with that Minecraft game thing that they did. I did get into Pokemon Go, but the first thing I did was turn off the AR because it didn't look great. But I enjoyed that for what it was at the time. I know it's still going strong, but not for me. One that I think you'll be very excited about, Tim. I don't know about how you are with the license, but I like Tron.
I'm a massive Tron fan, so this is great news.
Good. Coming from friend of the show, Mike Bithell, in his studio, Mike Bithell Games. He is working on a Tron Identity, it is called, and that is going to be coming to PC and consoles, I think PC first, in 2023.
I think he mentioned, and I'm not sure he mentioned it in the interview I did with him a bit ago, or whether he mentioned it off mic while I was doing that interview, but he did say that he had a a big license thing coming up at some point, and I'm guessing that is this. So, but yeah, like that is an absolutely perfect fit, basically. Like I know that he's seemingly a big fan from what he said. I didn't necessarily know that beforehand going in, but I would have imagined that he would be. Like, this is definitely, like from, previous games that he's made, I'm thinking particularly Volume. There's other things that kind of lend itself, but Volume, I think, is particularly, it's got some Tron Tron type, not quite references, but it's definitely influenced by Tron in terms of some of its presentation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would have definitely guessed he was a massive fan of Tron, basically. And yeah, that just seems like an absolutely perfect fit. And I'm really excited to see what he comes up with within the universe. We don't have too many details yet, but yeah, I am excited to see where he goes with it and have faith that he will do something interesting with it, basically. So yeah.
Color me interested.
Well, you
and
literally
that color was
yourself,
probably
orange.
Yeah, probably blue or like a red.
Reddy orange.
Throw discs at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Orange in the first film, red in the sequel. Probably because of color grading. I think that's right, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Let's say yes.
Marvel's Midnight Suns, that got a new release date. That's coming out on the 2nd of December now.
Good for two things.
Really can't get interested in the game.
One, it's really good because I'm really interested in the game. Firaxis, the studio that made it, previously made XCOM, one of the best turn-based strategy games. So them doing a card turn-based strategy game type thing, like this couldn't be more perfectly Tim if it tried, apart from if they squeeze the Punisher in. That's the only thing that would make it a bit more me. The fact that this was also one of my, I think, picks of games of the year coming up, or things that we were looking forward to, whatever the hell we call that normally. I
Possibly.
think this on my list and had previously been announced it had been delayed to next year. So the fact that it's coming out this year, just before my holiday, is very good news. Like, thank you very much, Firaxis.
Tim's one to watch.
Yes, that's what we call them.
I will, if you're picking it up, I will wait for you to do that and see what you think, and then probably disregard it and just look at different reviews anyway.
Yeah, like you normally do.
The headline of the show is Skydance New Media, Skydance's new games-focused studio. I think Amy Hennig is leading.
Yes.
Amy Hennig is leading this, and that's it's an untitled Marvel game as far, but this is meant to be set in World War II, where you get the characters of Captain America and the Black Panther of the time, Azuri, which is the current Black
Charles
Panther's
dad.
Grandfather, I think.
Oh, grandfather, isn't it?
I think this is grandfather.
Yes. Yeah.
And also two unnamed characters that aren't superheroes by the looks of it. I got a bit excited at the start of the trailer because I saw World War II, Captain America shield, and talking about other soldiers and stuff. And I was like, oh, are we getting a Captain America and the Howling Commandos? No. No, we're getting something different. But
it's almost weird that they didn't go with that and then just add Black Panther into the mix as someone else. Like, yeah, that seems a slightly strange
the Howling
decision.
Pussycats.
Yeah. But then, untitled, uncharted game with Black Panther and Captain America, though. Yeah. I'm in already. Yes.
Can you be sure it's an Uncharted type game?
No, but I think they did.
I think you're just guessing because Amy Hennig.
No. I did read some other details that she went into, and it does sound like that it's, the kind of cinematic approach, and it did sound from a few things she said like it would be that style of game or presentation in some ways. I'm not sure if it was just the article I was reading into that itself, or her actually saying it. I can't remember, but there were hints that would be the case, at least from what I read. So hopefully that is the case.
I'm wondering if this is the rumored Black Panther game, the one that's meant to be an open world kind of Arkham-y type thing. I'm wondering if it's actually this.
Quite possibly.
They were just missing a Captain America there. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I like the idea.
Yeah, I like the idea. I can't see them doing a Black Panther game and this game, though. Like, that seems a bit weird to have Captain America and Black Panther and a separate Black Panther game. But hopefully, maybe, there's probably enough demand.
It will all probably depend on the popularity of the sequel that's coming out this year. If it, because the first one did gangbusters, as I remember, there was a lot of hype into that film.
Yeah, the second one I think is going to be very successful as well, with a bit of a, respectful nod to Chadwick. Yeah, but
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman. I nearly got it the wrong way around. But I think having
also Namor.
I'm less bothered about Namor. I
think Namor and Ironheart.
I think he's one of the weaker characters from the Marvel universe. But hey,
little wings on his legs, little green pants on. It's going to be great. Love it.
Scaly green pants. But yeah.
All right, moving on. Ubisoft Forward, probably covering less on this one, as I just didn't. There wasn't so much that I connected with. The main ones is it was a very Assassin's Creed heavy stream, this one, and for good reason too. They've got a lot of news coming. Yeah. There's going to be a new platform called Assassin's Creed Infinity, and that's going to be a hub that will house the future of the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Never-ending, expanding new games worlds of Assassin's Creed.
Yes. Apparently as well, I heard a little bit later on that they're going to be focusing more on the Assassin's Creed side and removing the modern day stuff, which I thought was a shame. I know they never went down well with reviews, but I always liked the modern day stuff with Desmond and that it was kind of leaning into one day we're going to get the modern day and you're going to be playing as Desmond, and then they just kind of nixed that, and now they
abandoned that entirely.
They bring it up in different. Well, they bring it up with different stories and stuff, and I never know quite what's going on because I've missed a couple of titles, but. Apparently that's getting nixed, and it's just a focus on the whatever the time is that we're meant to be playing these games, rather than doing it in a historic way. But interesting stuff. So the new titles, the titles that we're focusing on, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which we spoke about last week because that got leaked. That is set in Baghdad in the 9th century, and it's going to be leading up to the events of Valhalla. Yeah, that's coming out sometime next year.
I like the fact that that's going back to the origins of the original game, a bit more like in the same neck of the woods, at least, even if it's not in like Accra and some of the places that went before. But it very much looks like they're going back to basics for the game as well. And I'm way more interested in that now they've said that than some of the other ones they mentioned as well. But hey.
Then we've got a free update for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which will tie up Ivar's story. I think the idea, we've spoken about this before, there was Assassin's Creed, I want to say it was Ragnarok or something like that was meant to be a spin-off. Well, it was meant to be a story expansion that then got released as its own game. The same as Mirage, that was meant to be the same, and then this was meant to launch after that. Instead, they managed to go, hey, full-price Assassin's Creed games instead of your DLC. Enjoy. Next up is going to be Assassin's Creed codenamed Jade, which... I like the sounds of this, even though it is a mobile game. It's an open world game set in China. The reason I like this is you create the assassin. And I like the idea of having a cool, baldy, bearded assassin running around. Yeah, fun times.
It's only mobile. We couldn't be bothered to create a character for this one. You might as well do that because you can actually do that properly on a mobile. I was going to say, there's one more that I'm more interested in, the codename Red, which is good. Because that suits us as well.
It's finally, the codename Red is finally set in feudal Japan, which is that's the one that fans have been screaming out since Assassin's Creed 2, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, the one problem I have with Red and it being set in Japan is, as you say, fans have been waiting for that for a long time. I think they waited too long to get to that because we've now already in a world where we are post Ghost of Tsushima. But there's also some other games that are coming up that we'll come to later in the show that are perhaps rivaling that. As you said, like in direct comparison, they may get out Ubisoft in their open world game designs of other things. Not necessarily saying that will definitely happen, but they're going to have to really bring their A game for that game to not have direct comparisons to other games that are coming out around it and after it, possibly as well. So, I think that's a tricky one for me now.
I mean, Ghost of Tsushima definitely had an Assassin's Creed feel to it, but it had a feel of the older Assassin's Creed titles that I preferred before they went into this weird RPG kind of spin-off that they're doing now. Not even a spin-off mainline, but the other one is Assassin's Creed Hex, codename Hex, sorry, it's not called Assassin's Creed Hex. And that's going to be the next mainline game. So the follow-up from Valhalla. So we'll see what that's going to be in future. And the other bit of Assassin's Creed news is that there is a team up with Netflix. So Ubisoft and Netflix are partnered to not only develop a live action adaptation of Assassin's Creed, which I'm excited about, but also they're going to do 3 of the Ubisoft mobile games, Valorant Hearts, Mighty Quest, and another Assassin's Creed mobile game. They're going to be available for any Netflix subscribers. So if you haven't done Netflix games, then boot it up on your phone, have a look. If you pay for Netflix already, then they're all included in the cost. It's like their own little Apple Arcade or Google Play Arcade. I forget what they call that.
Some good stuff in there as well. There was some information decoded from the little teaser they put out about Assassin's Creed Hex, that from interpretations of some of the symbols that were in there and a few other things that people have figured out, it seems to be that is going to be set in Germany amongst the German witch trials that were there in the, I can't remember, 16th, 17th century or something. But so that seems to be where that's headed, possibly.
Division Heartland, I've put this in here just because it's been one of them. It's reported on a lot, but we don't really know a lot about it. I think this is a free-to-play version of Division, but it's coming to PC and consoles and Stadia and Luna. But that is, we didn't get a full solid date, but that's going to be launching sometime between 2022 or 2023. So we'll see how that gets on. But there's a little bit of gameplay in there. Looks interesting enough. I like Division, and for playing at the price of free to play on actual decent hardware and not on your phone, we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Direct. Now, usually when a Nintendo Direct happens, I like to say there's always something for every, because a lot of people they seem to complain about every Nintendo Direct. I think this is one, and I always say that it doesn't matter if you didn't like the whole thing, there's got to be something on there you liked. Don't know if I can say that about this time. It seemed very...
It was a bit wishy-washy. Yeah.
I mean, if you love farming simulators...
Yeah, then you're in. But other than that, like...
You got 3 of them.
Yeah, there was... Especially for someone like myself, that the main headline thing was The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which... I was speaking to a few people the other day. We reckon that subtitle is the reason they didn't want to broadcast the Direct in UK. Like, you could watch it via America, which
makes sense.
Again shows that Nintendo doesn't entirely understand how the internet works. But as Dan is a fan of saying, but yeah, like I could, that might make sense. That Tears of the Kingdom, possibly not the best time to put those words out in the UK.
No, they didn't. It wasn't that they didn't show it in the UK. It's that originally they were meant to live stream it, was the idea, like they usually do. But instead they uploaded it as a single video for the whole country out of respect to the Queen. And I don't know how that makes a difference.
How is that?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's what Liz would have wanted.
I mean, she had a gold Wii, so obviously a Nintendo fan.
No. If you watch the video, I don't think she ever accepted it. It was delivered and returned.
Yes.
But Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, that's coming out the 12th of May, 2023. If you liked the previous game, then you'll probably want to get this one as well. I never finished it. I should really finish that.
I never started.
Because I enjoyed it.
It's just maybe
felt very long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tunic, I'm excited about Tunic coming to the Switch. I've said that a while ago. I really enjoyed that game on the Xbox, but I wanted to take it out on the go, and it's a bit too reactionary to play it on cloud streaming for the input lags and things that can happen on cloud. A lot of mistakes you can make in a Souls-like Zelda game with a fox. Yeah, it feels like it belongs on a Switch. So I'm glad it's coming to Switch. That's going to be on the 27th, very soon, of September. The big news for a lot of sites, more so for one title than the rest of them, but more 64 games coming to Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pass. N64 games including Pilot Wings, Mario Party 2 and 3, Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2, 1080 snowboarding, which I used to love back in the day.
That was the only one I cared
penguin
about.
Snowboard again.
Yeah.
Yep. Excitebike 64, and then GoldenEye 007 is finally coming to the Switch, and it's also coming to Game Pass. But there's a difference between the two versions. If you want to play the game in just local multiplayer, you can play it on Game Pass. If you want to play it with online multiplayer, you have to get it on the Nintendo Switch.
That makes no sense to be that way round. Like, what have you done? Why have you put it on the platform that has, like, 0 people that can voice chat? I don't believe there's anyone that owns a Nintendo microphone in the world.
But I will be interested to play with dual sticks.
Okay. Yeah, that would make a big difference. That game really needs that. I mean, I think that's one of the games that I've played the beginning level of much more than I've played more of the game, basically. Like, I think I've started that game lots, surprised that dude in the toilet, and then not really carried on. But
I've completed that game many a time, wiped the cartridge and started again back when I had an N64, but I've never been able to revisit it. Although I got close when I emulated it on my old phone a couple of weeks ago, but I just could not get the mapping right for the 2 sticks. So you had to keep it on one stick like it was an N64. And that feels weird when you're doing it with one hand with the dual stick control. It's very odd to play.
Not good.
But it looked great. It looked great on my phone, so I'm sure it looked great on the consoles, coming to 4K on the Xbox Series X. We had an announcement for Pikmin 4 that is coming out in 2023. That's interesting. As Miyamoto said back in 2015, it's almost done.
I'd be less interested in that if I hadn't recently enjoyed that game I was speaking about, I think last week, Tinykin. And that made me go, okay, I might actually like a Pikmin game. I might actually have to pick up a Pikmin game. Okay.
Pick up a Pikmin.
Pick up a Pikmin.
You can get the Wii U version of Pikmin 3 was ported to the Switch. So if you can ever find that on a cheaper discount rather than picking up 4, that's probably the way to go if you want to do your first time on it. It's a bit hard to get excited about Pikmin 4 considering we got a title screen.
Yeah.
No gameplay.
Not much detail.
But I saw people getting excited.
Yeah.
And the other bit that we're talking... Have we got any more? Yeah. And the other one we're talking about is Bayonetta 3. That is coming out on the 28th of October. We've spoken about this in the past, but it's shaping up to look really cool. The gameplay looks great.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how well it's going to perform on the Switch. That game could benefit with a more powerful, more powerful console behind it. Yeah. So we'll see what the frame rate and stuff looks like when that comes out.
That's one of those ones, I'll believe that game exists when I actually see it playing in front of my face. Like, until then, it's just vaporware. Like, I've no longer have any faith that is a real thing until it's a definite real thing. And
don't forget, because there's some titillating bits in Bayonetta 3, there's a family mode that kind of takes out the more adult-centric parts of that game.
Kind of makes sense on the Switch.
Yeah. Even though those adult-centric parts are kind of tongue-in-cheek.
Yes. The other one that I won't go into much detail because we've still got way more to get through, but Radiant Silvergun is definitely interesting to me. I like that kind of era of arcade shoot-em-ups. It's, again, I think I've played a little bit of this one. I didn't play the previous one from the same studio, Treasure, Ikaruga, and I'm now confused whether I should pick up Ikaruga or Radiant Silvergun, which one I'd possibly prefer. But yeah, I'll have a look at some point and make a decision. If they do both of them in a pack or something, which they sometimes do on Switch, then I might pick up both of them, but we shall see.
I remain at the edge of my seat while you make that decision.
Well, that was the one that they actually went, and it's available today, because they don't always do that these days, but it was good to see they did that. So that was cool. I like it when they do that.
Moving swiftly on to the blue side, the PlayStation State of Play. And they kicked off with the big guns, like especially because it was Tekken 8, but also you got a quick shot of the big gun from Kazuya as they wound down for a close up of his bicep, and it's went boom. It was that game. Look, I mean, I know the final version of that game is going to have health bars and stuff on it. But that looked cracking.
Yes, and Harada-san did say that it was taken from in-game, in-engine footage, basically, because people were questioning whether that's the case. I think they took some liberties with the camera from what he was saying, in terms of they made that a bit more cinematic than it will possibly be in the game.
That was in the fine print in the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. But, yeah, as you say, looked fantastic. It's one of those things where, of course they're making another Tekken game. The last one didn't bomb. They're going to carry on making Tekken kind of thing. So it did
very well.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly like big shocking news, but nevertheless, it's good news, and it's good news that it's looking good. And like we both like our fighting games, so good fighting game news is good.
Yeah, that the introduction trailer, the reveal trailer that they showed off, it had a very big. It was very much like when they showed off Tekken 7 and it was Akuma and Heihachi. So that looks like it's going to be a story mission fight in that game. Yeah, kind of it went against my idea when they revealed at Evo and just showed off a very shiny looking Kazuya Mishima. And I went, oh, well, that looks like we're getting a reboot of Tekken because the story's got a bit ludicrous. And I think they finally killed Heihachi in those games. So you want to take it back to the past, but nope, Tekken 8. That's what we're getting, and I'm excited. Yep. We won't talk about God of War Ragnarok because we're both excited about it. It's coming out on the 9th of December. We've spoken about it many a times. There's a dual sense controller.
There's a dual sense controller. The trailer that they showed, though, I have to say, that trailer was on point. That was a fantastic video game trailer. Like, it just looks brilliant. So, not going to talk about it too much because we're definitely all buying that game, so there's not much point in talking about it too much beforehand.
They had a couple of PSVR 2 games that they're going to be releasing next year. Demo, which is a kind of card game, but also Star Wars Tales of the Galaxy's Edge, from the Galaxy's Edge, which I think that's a 2-year-old game on the Oculus.
Although this is an enhanced edition.
But this is meant to be like the definitive edition.
Enhanced edition. And this is one of the ones where recently and we didn't go into detail this week because we've got so much to talk about anyway, but I'll just quickly mention there was a few journalists that got hands-on with the PSVR 2 this week for the first time. And this was one of the games they got to play. And they said it looked really nice and played really well. That was good news.
Okay.
We'll talk about more about that going forward, but also they were really impressed with the PSVR 2, so that is also really good news as well.
I have seen. I'm very excited.
Yes, likewise. And Saints and Sinners 2 was the other one that they got hands-on with as well, but yeah.
Oh, that's the one I'm looking forward to, the Walking Dead game.
Yes,
if you don't know the Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, it's a VR version of the story of the Galaxy's Edge theme park section of Disney.
Yeah, it's really odd, but yeah.
Which they did a pack in The Sims 4 as well, I believe. But yeah, Galaxy's Edge. One that took me by surprise, there is a spin-off Yakuza game, which I've tried getting into Yakuza. I've always been excited about the Yakuza games, but never really got to terms with them. Tried last year, kind of fell off them a little bit in the first game, but I want to get back to it at some point, and now I might be doing something different because we got another spin-off game. Judgment was the first spin-off game. This one is a set so far in the past that there's like samurais and stuff, but this is called Like a Dragon Ishin, and it looks more like a kind of hack and slash than a Yakuza game, and that's something that I like.
Cool bit where he cut a bullet in half. Anyone that cuts a bullet in half, that's getting my attention. But yeah, that looked really cool.
Like actually. A John Woo really film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely down for this.
We had the first game from Ironwood Studios, which is a kind of first-person driving in an apocalyptic storm. But this is called Pacific Drive, where they're driving through the Pacific Northwest and lots of stuff is going on.
Yeah, it definitely looked intriguing, this game. As I said, it's the first game from a studio, so there's not much to go on there in terms of, history. I don't know if there's anyone that we know within the studio. Not we personally, but, the public in general sort of thing. But I thought it was an intriguing looking game. It looked like a driving survival game. And you seem to get a lot of information from what was going on outside the car from kind of almost like thrown together devices that were reading things that were going on inside your car, kind of thing. Like, so yeah, intriguing. I'll definitely be looking out for it and seeing where this one goes and whether it comes out. Might be something that I'd be more tempted to wait until it's out on PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass to give it a try, but nevertheless, intriguing.
We also got the more information on the PlayStation Stars loyalty program, which I'm hoping there's more than they showed off in terms of like maybe discounts and things you can earn, because at the moment they've just shown us little digital trophies you can get, which while cool, you can get little trophies of characters or hardware and stuff, which again, stop sticking the PlayStation VMU in your stuff to go, look at this thing that you never got. Because I always wanted one and I never got one because they never released it in the UK. Yeah. Stop doing that. They look so cool.
Yeah.
But that is going to launch in regions of Asia later this month. And then it's going to launch in the US and Europe in the weeks that follow. So we should be getting that soon, whatever it is. I hope we get more than trophies.
They look like they just sort of saw how popular the Astrobot thing was that was built into the PS5 and gone, oh, people really like the digital console things. Maybe we can make this into a thing. And I'm not convinced so far. I'm hopeful that, as you say, there is more to come, but we'll see. I
mean, don't get me wrong, little trophy rewards. I like the idea of it, but am I getting a little trophy reward room that I can display them in? Am I getting something like that? A little play space? You know, when you play Splatoon 3, you can unlock items to put in your locker. Do I get a locker for my trophies? A trophy cabinet?
What they need to do is have some sort of PlayStation home, let's say, that you can possibly put things in a little environment that's like a digital flat or a house or something, maybe.
I would love a new PlayStation home with a budget.
Yeah. Like
that'd be awesome.
That was the metaverse before the metaverse was called the metaverse. Like that. I mean, like they had the idea. They should have carried on making it. But
it was just them trying to ape on Second Life, and Second Life, I don't think it's as popular as it once was, and is quite glitchy and all these problems with it. But hey ho. Project Eve has been renamed and it's coming out in 2023. It's going to be called Stellar Blade.
It's going to be called Big Ever-Evolving Railgun Thing that extends forever. But yeah, like Project Eve is one thing we'd seen bits on here and there, and I still don't entirely know what this is. But it looked hella cool. I'm down with that. It looked like, cybernetic ninja type things going on. That's always good. Let's do that.
One I forgot to mark, but I'll throw it in there just to quickly touch on it. Rise of the Ronin. I'm excited about that because it is from Team Ninja and it is an open world samurai game coming in 2024. Not excited that it's coming in 2024. It's a long time to wait. However, I like the idea of, open world hacky slashy samurai game from Team Ninja. I like that.
And this was one of the titles I was referring to that may out Ubisoft because I have a bit more faith in Team Ninja making engaging combat than Ubisoft, basically.
Tokyo Game Show. We had the Idea Xbox presentation and the Capcom presentation.
Yes.
Tim, you watched these. I was marred with work, so you'll have to tell me what your highlights were.
I will glaze over this a little bit. I did watch both of these, but it was kind of while I was working, and watching things that are mainly being presented in Japanese while working is not a good combination necessarily. So I'm a bit light on some of the details for this, but there's a couple of things I wanted to hit. Wolong Dynasty was one of the first ones they showed off. Big action RPG. Again, another one that might be out Ubisoft. It's one that we've seen little bits of here and there, but they showed off a little bit more of it. And it just looks, again, really intriguing, really interesting. I'm definitely keen to find out more. One that they showed actually the same story trailer in both the Xbox presentation and the Capcom presentation was Exoprimal. We've seen bits of gameplay before. This is the one where you're in exosuits fighting dinosaurs and there's some time dilation and stuff going on. They showed a bit more of the story and it seemed like absolute nonsense, which is
really?
Fine.
In a good way or a bad way?
It's difficult to tell from the bit they showed off, But yeah, like I'm not entirely sure. Like it could go one way or the other. I think it was so bad that it was good though. Like it's that sort of level of like possibly knowing that they're going a bit over the top. I'm not sure, but I don't think you could have a very straight-faced, sensible story when you're in exosuits fighting dinosaurs in future Tokyo type thing. I don't think that necessarily translates to not having something humorous, but we'll see.
The funny thing about that game is when they first announced it, there was kind of a swell around Capcom going, oh, they just rely on their existing IPs. They just rely on Monster Hunter, Street Fighter, and Resident Evil. We want something new. And then they go, oh, here you go, Exo Primal. They went, oh, you made a dinosaur game and it isn't Dino Crisis. Like, what? Make up your sodding mind. I think this looks awesome. I can't wait to play this game.
I think this could be really cool. I think this might fit in the kind of wheelhouse that Earth Defense Force used to do for me. Like, like a silly game where a few you get together and just kill a load of dinosaurs in this case rather than big bugs. But yes, I'm definitely interested. One that I'm going to mention I don't necessarily think I'm interested in this game, but you have to go and see this trailer because it's crazy. I think we mentioned it before. It's one called Pal World, and it's essentially, as I've put it in brief form, it's Pokemon with bazookas. Like it's art.
Is this the Korean Pokemon type game?
Yes, I think so. And but if you can imagine, like a Pokemon style universe with big, bobbly, like happily looking creatures, and then you just whip out an M16. Like, it's like, okay, that doesn't seem to fit in this universe. Yeah. Whatever. And then they've got other things later on where there's a big kind of, looks like I don't know my Pokemon well enough, so I don't want to say the wrong one, but it looks like a big water type Pokemon type thing, but with two massive like arrays of cannons, like firing massive missiles off its shoulders. And I'm like,
oh, like a Blastoise.
Yeah, yes, that's the one.
Big turtle.
No, not a big turtle, more of a big like Loch Ness monster thing in blue.
Oh, it's been a while.
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell. But listeners can tell us which one. But it just looks like craziness. I as I said, I don't think it's necessarily a game for me. But if you like Pokemon, but you thought this could do with more missiles and more like little guys carrying bazookas and blowing stuff up, then I guess this is for you. Like, it looks like a crazy mix of things that don't go together, but we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it just based on the first trailer because they did. It's a knockoff of Pokemon, but it looks actually kind of cool. And there's this happy pop tune going along, and then all of a sudden someone's got a gun. I went, yes. I want to play this.
There's a few things which I'll just rattle through quickly because the main news on this was just that they're coming to Xbox Game Pass. Slightly out of order, but Deathloop is coming to Xbox Game Pass. We guessed this before Deathloop even launched when Xbox or Microsoft bought Bethesda. We were like, okay, well, this is going to come to...
Also...
It's the reason I didn't buy it last year.
It's also on the PlayStation Plus tiers as well.
Yes, they just got that out just before it came to Game Pass, which made me even more suspicious that it's coming to Game Pass. But I can get it on one or the other now. I'll see. I'll probably start it on Xbox. Although, I don't know, I'm tempted graphically to play it on my PS5, but Xbox, I have more faith for it to stay PS5 on there for longer. So I don't know. Like, anyway, we'll see.
I'll send you my copy.
Oh, okay. Well, that you could have done that before, but anyway. But yeah, no, I can play that either way now. That's good.
Been busy.
But yeah, that wasn't that surprising. They also announced a bit of I think from what they were saying, it's a free update for that with added content that has new weapons, new enemies, and extended ending and other bits to add on as well, basically. So yeah, that's good news for anyone that didn't pick up Deathloop for £70 on the PS5, I guess. Bad news if you did. But if you listen to our show, even though Coleman didn't listen to our own advice, like we did think maybe Maybe hold off from doing that because it'll probably be free in a year. Well, free
No,
in inverted
me and Dan
commas.
both picked it up.
Well, there you go. But
and it was great.
2 other games that are coming to Xbox Game Pass, both fighting games, and both from what I've heard, I haven't played either. Oh, no, we played one of these, I think, yeah? And then played previous games of this. But anyway, BlazBlue Cross Tag Team, and they sort of talked about the Persona characters being in there as well. But that's coming to Game Pass in spring next year. Likewise, Guilty Gear Strive is coming to Game Pass in spring next year as well. But like, if you haven't seen it already, Coleman, just go to the Xbox presentation, and just find the trailer. It's roughly where I've said it is. Find the trailer for Guilty Gear Strive. I promise you, it is worth going and looking at. Not necessarily saying it's a brilliant game, you have to go and look at it. You have to listen to the words from the music that they have played with that trailer. Like, I'm assuming it's in the game. Cool. It contains the line. This was my favorite line. It wasn't the only one that provided great entertainment, but it contains the line, "We already know the smell of the game." And I've no idea why. But yeah. I'm
assuming that's like a Japanese band that just kind of put English words in because it sounds cool. Because I remember a bunch of those being very famous in early days of the internet. Like some metal band singing in Japanese, but like at the end of a sentence, it'd be an English word. And it made no sense. It'd be like da 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 tree, da 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 shoe.
This could be very much that case. I suspect it very much is. I don't want to say too much, but I found it hysterically funny. Like, at this point, I was literally laughing my ass off. And I rewound it to make sure I heard that line right, though. "We already know the smell of the game." I'm like, what are you talking about?
Everyone loves English.
Yeah, it's great. But hey. But yeah, there's one thing I didn't understand. They talked about the Skyrim Anniversary Edition being out and something about a Japanese version, like whether it's got a proper Japanese language dub or something. But it was like, if you haven't been able to access it before, you should be able to do if you re-download the game or something. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And they also just mentioned the fact that the Fallout 76, the Pit DLC was coming out, basically. But they also talked about a Ni no Kuni Remastered coming to Xbox.
Ooh, I got that.
Which I think that was...
Yeah, I got that on PS4.
Yeah, well, that was I think it was a PlayStation exclusive when it came out previously, no? So it's probably just...
Yeah, PS3.
Yeah, good news to get like another popular Japanese game and the remaster version. The one thing I say is because it's got such a cartoony art style, they showed the remastered version and I was like, oh, that looks exactly the same as it did before. It probably doesn't. If you put them side by side, it probably does look better, but it didn't look noticeably better just on its own, basically.
I think I have this on Switch as well, actually.
Okay. I've still never played through all of the games despite really liking it in preview. But
mate, all you got to know is that there's a character called Drippy, who's like a short little character, and his nose has Welsh. A lantern hanging off it.
Well,
and he's very Welsh, and he's like, "Come on, lads, your mum's dead. Let's go to a land of make-believe. It's a Studio Ghibli."
Yes, but that was one interesting thing about seeing the Japanese presentation of the announcement of the remaster is the fact that character wasn't in it. They had the Japanese voice character, and I was like, oh, that's what he sounds like in the original Japanese version. Oh, God, you guys missed out. You didn't get the Welsh guy. Like, you are missing out. That was the main thing from that game. So, yeah, that was interesting. It kind of ended out on a thing, and I might mispronounce this. It's a game I'm aware of and never played any of the ones in the previous series, but Aluyadent Chronicles, I'm guessing it's pronounced. And the subtitle of this was 100 Heroes, and that is apparently because there will be 100 different playable heroes in the game by the looks of things. And they had all manner of different ones on show. There was one point, there was like a shark animal man thing that was attacking people. Shark.
Iron Man.
No, but,
Man.
but there was 100 different like heroes from like characters in the game. It looked like a kind of isometric turn-based RPG type thing. It kind of reminded me of the graphical style that they're using for Octopath Traveler and stuff like that. it's that kind of look to it as well. I don't know much more about it than that, but it could be interesting. So yeah, one to keep an eye on maybe.
Right, we're going way over, so you got 1 minute to talk about Street Fighter 5.
Right,
Street
Fighter 6. Just very quickly then, there was a couple of other things shown in the Capcom presentation. The main thing for me, and I think generally, was that the Street Fighter 6, they announced 4 characters, Ken, Blanca, E-Honda, and Dulcim. No great surprises there. They are ever present in the Street Fighter universe, but it was just good to see them and see how they are forming and how they are shaping up in the Street Fighter 6 engine, and the slight difference in presentation. Does seem like they've mixed Ken up a little bit, so he's got a few more kicks and a different kind of kick system to kind of Ryu. And then like Dulcim, they showed off a few of his like flame moves and stuff like that. Blanca's got like a weird move where he lobs out a little doll of himself and it kind of electrifies and moves around the arena, but I'm not sure how that works. They also showed off a bit of the single player. I think it was the world, if I'm remembering correctly, there's a world tour mode. There's the battle hub where they had loads of like little arcade machines set up so that you could go and like fight different people online, but they had an arcade machine set up to do that. Then there was the thing where you're actually going around, and they are doing the thing that I suggested to Ono-san years ago that he said no to. They are doing my idea that you can go around.
Part of the thing anymore.
No, yeah, exactly. They had to boot him out to get my idea made. But yeah, basically, so they're wandering around, and you go around different masters, and you learn different skills from them, and that can then add to your fighting repertoire, basically. And you can choose so you can go and learn spinning bird kick, and you'll get a version of the spinning bird kick your character can do. The other thing that they showed off was in the kind of the map of the world that you can wander around, and they did show a bit more of that and being able to wander around. But you can use the fighting moves in the environment to traverse the environment. So they showed one where you were using the spinning bird kick to get from one rooftop to another on the other side of the street type thing. And so there's definitely some interesting stuff there. You can throw fireballs to like blow up bins and stuff like that. So there was some different things going on with the environment and stuff like that. I really like where they're heading with that. I'm guessing that won't sit that well with Street Fighter purists, maybe, but I like what they're doing with that. I think that's a much more something that will.
Who cares? They need to sell more copies.
Yes, and they can draw more people into the world than the style of presentation of single player content that they did in Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 4. So. I think this is shaping up really well. I really like the look of it. It did even more to do stuff. They've also did some weird things where there's different rule sets that you can play with, and you can have like exploding bouncy balls that bounce between you, and like various different things that you can mess around with in that regard as well. So yeah, like a lot of bells and whistles going into this game. I hope it all coalesces and comes together nicely. Your
homework after you finish this recording, Tim, is to count to 60 so you know how long a minute is. Good. Glad we got there. Those are the highlights of everything, which is a mammoth task this week, because there's way so much more we could have gone through, and there's a couple that we've got to talk about as well in the comments section of the show. But I will say first, if you've enjoyed this show, God help you, but thank you for listening. You can get in contact with the show at bigredbarrel.com. We have a comment section on each and every post that we put out, so you can get in contact with us that way. We've also got a link to our Discord there. We have a Facebook, facebook.com/bigredbarrel. We have a Twitter, twitter.com/bigredbarrel. We have a YouTube, something Big Red Barrel. We also have links to all our social medias available in the show notes. So if you're listening on an app, or if you look on the website or anything like that, there's links at the very bottom of the post that will get you to all the different places. And also there'll be links to all the different streams we're talking about as well. So you can go straight from the episode to that.
Not sorry? Leopard. You said links? Small cats at the bottom of the thing? No?
I hate you. To kill you. Holding up the show for that. Some people have been in contact with us. First of all, I asked for highlights. We got a couple here. Ed wants to let us know that his highlight was the Like a Dragon spin-off. And Damo, of course it was. And Damo Coop, he says, I have a question.
Oh,
it's probably been asked before, but with the hope of a more focused classic Assassin's Creed game on the horizon, What location/era should they set one of the games in? Other than Gosport, of course. His suggestion is he wants one in India, maybe during the partition, which is a good suggestion.
That would be interesting. That would be good. The only thing is, I don't know how many. Like, there's the Taj Mahal to climb, and that's about it, basically. Like, I don't know how many tall buildings there are in India in that era.
Swim through the rivers and get dysentery.
Nice. But yeah, like,
it's a bit harsh.
I think what they really need to do is go back in time about 10 years and release a game that was made in Japan. Like, or not made in Japan, but, set in Japan. That's what they really need to do. But as I said, I really fear for them actually coming out. Like, my answer, like, a year ago, maybe more, like before Ghost of Tsushima or before that was announced even, would have been Japan. Now I'm like, maybe don't go there. Like, you have direct comparisons now. Go somewhere else. Like, as you say, I think the most interesting thing they could do for me is actually set one in modern times and have you actually climbing massive skyscrapers and going from that side of things. And actually, maybe even
New York.
Maybe even like the nebulous short time in the future type thing rather than actual modern day, maybe a little bit in the future, so you can have some cool tech to help you get around the environment as well, kind of thing. But
now you're just talking about Watch Dogs, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably where Watch Dogs came from in the first place. I think that was the case of, like, there's a lot of games, and Skull and Bones being another one, a lot of games that have span out of Assassin's Creed into their own games, even beyond the Assassin's Creed games. So, yeah, like...
Well, even Assassin's Creed was a spin-off of... It was meant to be a sequel to Prince of Persia.
Right, yes, yep. And then we're then, no, let's just do our own thing. And, yeah, they should be doing more of their own thing and not necessarily releasing 25 Assassin's Creed games every year. But, hey...
Short and sweet on my one, and it's one that they've touched on in a game, but I didn't get the game that I wanted. I would like to go back to Paris, but for a Nazi-occupied Paris, that would be pretty cool. Fighting Nazis.
Good time to be an assassin.
Yeah, I know what they did with
Saboteur.
Unity, was it?
Oh, no, yeah.
Well, there's Unity, the Saboteur exists, I know. But yeah, they had kind of time skips in Unity, and one of the, like, you could go to the building of the Statue of Liberty, and then you could go where like German planes are flying over and stuff, and they were very short little introductions. I wanted like a whole World War II game. I thought that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Do think so.
But yeah, that's Assassin's Creed. Jumpin' XP. Hello, Jackson. He says, with a bunch of big titles getting cloud versions for the Switch, do you think it's time Nintendo gave us a better Switch that would let us download and play more games instead of giving cloud versions? There's a reason I've stopped putting in the agenda whenever they announce cloud versions. It's because the Switch can't handle cloud versions. They play terribly. It's such a bad idea to charge full price for games that have then been discounted on other consoles and then make you stream them for a full price. It's a terrible idea, I think. I agree. The Switch is really kind of, I mean, creaking. Nintendo make games developed specifically for the Switch, and that's great. They play great. But when you have multi-platform games, it's the same problem as the Wii. It's the same problem as the Wii U. It lags, and the Switch really needs a refresh at this point. And we thought we were getting one, but we just got a shinier screen. So it wasn't quite what we wanted.
I think
totally agree. I'm ready for Switch 2.
Yeah, I think it really is needed. I also think it's slightly bad news that the Mario Kart DLC is planned to go for, I think, another 18 months from here, because I don't think we're getting a new Switch before that runs out, basically. So, yeah. Yeah,
I would just say no one from Nintendo's listening. I would just say to Nintendo, if I ever had some kind of captive audience there, is stop doing it. Stop releasing cloud versions of games because they just don't work as intended. And they're pointless. You've got a mobile console that you then can't play the games out on the go. Yeah. We're going to tether it to your phone's internet.
Just reminds everyone that you're not as good as your competitors at playing those sorts of games. So don't try. basically.
Exactly. That said, Splatoon 3 is really good. Mikaby on our YouTube, he says that this is a follow-on from last week where we were talking about difficulty spikes from a previous question.
Yep.
He said, my worst difficulty spike was the final Valkyrie on God of War. Played the whole game on hard, couldn't beat that thing on easy.
That is a very good shout. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, when you get to Majma in Yakuza Like a Dragon, it's another insane difficulty spike. Okay.
That one
I
I'm
really
not
want to play
familiar
Like a
with,
Dragon, but I want to play the other Yakuzas.
I thought a lot of the Valkyries, the Valkyries that you fight post game in God of War are, yeah. I don't think
I didn't bother.
I don't think I got to the last one. That's one of the few things I didn't do in the game. It was one of those, oh yeah, I'll come back to it. But then you realize, oh no, I need to pick this up and I need to be really good at the game again to be able to try and do that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm tempted to replay through the first game again before the next one comes out. I'm pretty sure I won't find the time to do so. So yeah.
No.
But that is a very good shout. They were really difficult.
I played it very late in the game after everyone else. I completed that game on PS5 for my first go and really enjoyed it. But I literally just wanted the story and I wasn't too bothered about all side missions and stuff. So I skipped a lot of side missions that I never went back to.
I went and
I tried one
everything
Valkyrie.
they could do in that game, basically. But yeah.
I did one Valkyrie and went, yeah, I don't need to do those. That's fine. I just want the story. I'll just do the story and I'm good.
I did all the ones I encountered on my way through the game, not necessarily in the order I found them, but I kind of did that. And then, yeah, there's a few extra that you get to afterwards. And no.
If anyone reminds me, do it on Discord. Remind me if you're interested. There's a really interesting YouTube video that kind of breaks down the Norse mythology used within God of War and how it's changed in God of War and for what reason. And it's really interesting to watch through. I've watched it a couple of times and yeah, it's stuff I'd like to talk about on the show, but I can't because it's like big spoilers for God of War, like literally the end of the flipping game. So
I imagine there might be a few people playing through that at the moment as well. So yeah, we don't want to spoil that right now.
Yeah, exactly. We have got to go, but before we do, we are going to give a quick plug to our merch, which is available on tpublic.com/store/BRB. Tim's wearing one right now. Platformers, mascots in disguise. He's very excited about that. I'm not wearing one. I've got an Iron Maiden Moon Knight t-shirt, which I really, really like because it fits me again because I lost weight.
Oh, good.
Yes. Tim, have we got a Tabletop Tuesday coming up?
We do indeed, because we have a Tabletop Tuesday coming up almost every Tuesday. Not quite. Over Christmas we close. But hey. But most Tuesdays, at least 50 out of 52 Tuesdays of the year, and pandemics, like, we're hoping there's not another pandemic anytime soon. They can't. But yeah, like 50 out of 52 Tuesdays of the year, we do an event called Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Stoke, Newington. Each and every Tuesday, we have a different feature game, usually a board or a card game. And if you play that game that evening, you can win a copy of the game at the end of the evening. This week's game is another extra.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, this week's game is another extra special event where we are having a special Keyforge event. For anyone who doesn't know, Keyforge kind of died and has come back. Just come back to life. It's available on, I was going to say Kickstarter, but it's not. I believe it's on GameFound. Yeah, they've just launched a crowdfunding type thing for that. So you can go and have a look at the latest version of that. We have one of the older versions that's going to be available on the night, but we also have some extra special prizes to give away on the evening. Which some of our regulars I have already keyed in on, but are also generally gonna keep as a surprise for the evening for everyone else, possibly. But yeah, it's Keyforge is a game I really love. It is a one-on-one card fighting game in the kind of same vein as Magic the Gathering, but slightly different. Made by the exact same designer as Magic the Gathering. But the unique hook for this is everyone has their own unique deck. Like each individual card, you might find similar cards in someone else's deck, but you'll never find a deck with the same composition as your deck. So you buy a whole deck. You don't buy like add-on booster cards and all that type of stuff. And then they have like different sets that have come out. As I said, there's a new one available on GameFound. But yeah, there will be more details on the top left-hand corner of Big Red Barrel. And you can also join our meetup group, which has over 2,000 members. On meetup.com, search for Tabletop Tuesday. Come along, play a game, possibly win a copy on the evening. We've got extra prizes this week, so that gives you an extra reason to come down and join us. Extra prizes. Everyone loves extra prizes.
Oh my God, extra prizes. I love extra prizes. You love extra prizes. We all love extra prizes. So make sure to go down to Loading Bar on Tuesday for Tabletop Tuesday. We've got to get out of here super quick because we have gone way over that I wasn't intending to. So this has been episode 208 of BRB UK. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure to click on all the links you can that have to do with us and watch us and listen and smash that like, bell, subscribe,
go and smash
all
the
that
bell.
stuff that you're meant to do.
You need that bell.
Yeah, do all that. Do all that. For this week, I have been Coleman.
I might have been Tim.
And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Body's special blazing, still my heart is blazing. If the word kill me, I don't need a new word under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game. You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com. Still my heart is blazing. If the word kill me, I don't need a new word under you. Soon you will know, we already know the smell of the game. You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
Should we move to the Czech Republic?
I mean, no.
BRB CZ?
Possibly. Do they have electricity?
Apparently property's cheaper there. They do.
Okay,
They have lots of things in the Czech Republic. Cheaper beer.